A Song for Silas by Lori Wick. Chapter 35. Amy stood in her bedroom holding the unopened package from her aunt. Silas had given it to her when he'd come down for supper, and even her father had looked at her strangely when she didn't immediately open it. There was no way to explain to Silas or her father, as there was no explaining even to herself about the almost desperate feeling within her to be alone to open this gift. Amy's hands shook slightly as she peeled off the brown paper and unwrapped the gift. The package contained a beautiful glass berry dish. It was about 8 inches in diameter and had an ornate A engraved on the side. The note inside read, "I so want you to have this dish, Amy. It is a gift from my heart. The dish was given to me by my mother, whose name was Agatha. She had received the gift from her mother, my grandmother, whose name was Adela. My name being April, the dish was passed to me, and not to either of my sisters. With no daughter of my own, I feel it a privilege to pass this A dish along to you, Amy. I hope some day I'll see it in your home on your own dining table. Love, Aunt April." Amy took no note of the tears streaming down her face. "To whom will you pass the dish, Amy?" The question rolled around in her head as the tears continued down her cheeks and no answer came. For the first time, Amy was fearful of praying, fearful of facing God and what His will might be. Amy remained in her bedroom, alone and totally caught up in her pain. "Do you think Amy's okay?" Grant and Silas were sitting on the front porch, and it bothered Silas that Amy hadn't joined them. "I suppose she needed some time alone," Grant answered quietly. "It's because I'm back." Silas's voice held regret. "I imagine that does have something to do with it, Silas, but I think there's more to it. I'm afraid she didn't have an easy summer." "Well, that's not surprising. She was pretty upset about your accident." "You're right, she was very upset about that, but I think it's something else. My guess is she's fighting God about something." Grant paused then and turned so he could look directly at Silas. "And I think that something is you." Silas shifted uncomfortably in his seat, afraid of where this conversation was leading. He looked out across the yard, hoping Grant would take the hint and change the subject, but Grant wasn't through with him. "Silas, I did break my leg, but there is nothing whatsoever the matter with my eyes. You're in love with my daughter, and when she stops looking at you like a big brother, she'll realize she loves you too." Silas stared at Grant in disbelief, and Grant went on. "Of course, you can't blame Amy for seeing you in that light. After all, you treat her like a sister. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she is really nothing more than a sister to you." "You're not wrong." Silas's voice was nearly inaudible. "Well, then do something about it. In my day, when a man fell in love with a woman, he courted her." Silas could only gape at the man, hardly able to believe what he was hearing. "Silas," Grant's voice was gentle now, "did you think I'd forgotten what it was like to be in love? I know it's not easy for you when you're living right here under the same roof. I suspect Amy knows of your feelings for her, but it's not at all convincing when you treat her with the same sisterly affection you always have." Silas sat in silence for a moment before admitting in a humble voice, "I've never courted a woman before. I'm not sure I'd know where to begin." But Grant only smiled at him. "Silas, I have every confidence you'll come up with something." Amy never did join the men on the porch that evening, and Silas, knowing in the morning he'd be headed out to the fields, went to bed early. He had no trouble falling asleep, but as he awaited for slumber to claim him, each second was spent thinking about all Grant had said.